Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you very much also for inviting my wife Peggy and I to come up to San Francisco. We enjoy this city a lot. We live 100 miles south and are rabid Giants fans, Warriors fans. I do want to say some serious things about Midway, but first I want to pick up on the remark made earlier by a gentleman who said something like, "Go Army, beat Navy." There is a story about a young man who after last year's Army-Navy game, he's still out there, went into a bar, and he went to the bar stool, sat on the bar stool, and his dog came with him. A big old shaggy dog. Dog came in, laid in the corner of the bar, laid down and went to sleep. Bartender says, "You can't bring a dog in here, it's a public place." And the guy said, "Wait a minute, this dog can do so many great tricks, it'll amaze you, you have to let him stay." Bartender said, "Well, show me the trick." So the young man goes over, hollers in the dog's ear, "Go Navy, beat Army." The dog perks up, does backflips across the barroom floor, jumps up on the bar, and taps out the tune that anchors away. Goes back in the corner. And the bartender says, "That's amazing, but what happens if Army beats Navy?" And the guy said, "Well, we don't know, the dog's only 14 years old." So we're here to tell stories about Midway, to remember the fallen heroes and the great sacrifices made by so many, and the great victory that changed the course of World War II. And it had not been for that victory, the war would have lasted for a couple of years more. Probably we would not have gone to Europe first and held the Pacific as we did. And so that great victory 74 years ago, today and tomorrow, marked the end of the beginning for the Japanese and the beginning of the end. I've been to Midway Island myself several times. The first time on a destroyer, refueling. The last time I was a 7th Fleet commander, and we stopped there to refuel my P3. And at that time, Midway was like a ghost place. There were a few contract workers, kept the airstrip open, had a fuel pier, and that's about it. Previously, it had been a very active little base, with a regular story about Midway in those days, in the early days, that there were no cars on the island, bicycles, except for a fire truck and so on. The fire department chief got a car. The police chief said, "I got to have a car too," and he got a car. And the next day, there was a collision between But Midway, when we saw it in this was in 1989 or so, was almost a ghost town. And if you don't believe in ghosts, go to places like Corregidor and Iwo Jima that I visited while as a 7th Fleet commander. If you don't believe in ghosts, go there, and you might come back and believe it. And there are 20,000 Japanese still at Iwo Jima in the caves. It's a sacred place. So on my first destroyer, I stopped there to refuel, and we did the deployment. We came back to Coronado, to San Diego, and I was a bit of a golfer, and I played golf with an elderly gentleman then, a Rear Admiral Max Leslie, who was a fine gentleman, nice guy. He was quite old, he was about 60 years old. But he hit the ball not very far, but straight, terrific competitor. I had heard he'd been in the Battle of Midway, but I didn't think much about it. So some years later, I did some research about Max Leslie. And Max Leslie was a lieutenant commander commanding Bomber Squadron 3 on the Yorktown, and led his 17 SBDs. They were called SBDs because they were slow but deadly, to the strike against the Japanese Armada. And that Armada had sailed from Japan on the 27th of May from the Great Fleet Anchorage. And the fleet anchorage was huge. And there were aircraft carriers and battleships and cruisers and destroyers, and they all sailed on the 27th of May, which is Japanese Navy Day. The same day that Admiral Togo beat the Russians in the Battle of Tsushima Strait, shortly in the early part of the century. And so they sailed, and they were singing in the war rooms, and they were waving victory songs, and they were supremely confident, because as you recall, the Japanese had run wild. They were threatening bombing parts of Australia. They had gone all through Southeast Asia, South Asia, the island chains to the west and the east, Singapore, Hong Kong, and they were invincible. And the only problem they had was the psychological problem of when Jimmy Doolittle flew bombers off the carrier Hornet on the 18th of April to bomb Tokyo and other parts of Japan. Psychological victory made a big change psychologically, but not a great difference strategically. So the mood approaching early June in 1942 was somber in the U.S. Navy. Yorktown was damaged in the Battle of Coral Sea. We lost one carrier, Lexington. She came back, Yorktown came back, limped home, pretty severe battle damage. They put her in dry dock immediately, in dry dock 1 in Pearl Harbor. Admiral Nimitz went down to the dry dock, inspected the damage. The flight deck had been holed by a bomb. The piping was a mess. There was leaks in the hull. Pretty bad damage. The shipyard worker, the shipyard commander, the engineers said 3 months at least to fix this ship. Nimitz looked him in the eye and said, "You got 3 days." And at the time, the shipyard was fixing other ships and still damaged from Pearl Harbor, and were repairing buildings and infrastructure, and they were busy as hell. But they put 1,500 people aboard Yorktown, and they worked around the clock for 3 days. One shipyard worker was found asleep in scaffolding with a welding torch in his hand, a welding torch. He'd been working for about 12 hours straight. And they were all like that. And the ship got underway after 3 days and steamed down the channel. And the shipyard workers were getting off on boats as the ship was going out. And the ship made it. And so there are many heroes in Midway, but we don't hear much about shipyard workers. And I think, my God, they deserve a big pat on that. So the battle took place. You all heard about the famous code breakers. We intercepted the Japanese signals that told us about where and about when they were going to attack. The Japanese would. And Chester Nimitz, the fleet commander, said to himself and to his staff, "Well, we have to be on the offensive here. We have only the 3 carriers left. We have no battleships anymore. We have some cruisers and destroyers, and that's all we have between Japan and the Japanese Navy and the west coast of the U.S. Now, I wonder how many commanders today or later would have taken that decision to go on the offense, outnumbered, outgunned, outmanned, out-airplaned, and taken that risk. Well, Chester Nimitz did, which proves to me, as I've seen the pattern and experienced myself, the best defense is a good offense. If you hit them hard, hit them early, you've got a chance. Defensive mentality and defensive posture is corrosive. It leads to atrophy. So Chester Nimitz, really, among all the heroes at Midway, deserves a great deal of credit. So the airplanes took off from the three carriers and headed generally west. Each carrier air wing had its own idea of where to go, but each carrier air wing kind of took their own route there. One carrier air wing from the Hornet went a little bit different direction and never rendezvoused with the Japanese carriers. But the carriers, air wings from Enterprise and Yorktown did. And so we ought to think the submarine Nautilus, U.S. submarine Nautilus, who attacked the Japanese battleship in the vicinity of the Armada and did not score a hit or wasn't going to do much damage, but did draw some attention, and the air wing from the Enterprise saw the destroyer heading back at high speed in a certain direction and thought that destroyer might be heading back to the main body, and he was. So McCluskey followed that destroyer, and that's how he found it. Max Leslie and his bombing squadron just happened to figure it out right. And so Max Leslie, Lieutenant Commandant, class of 1926 from the Naval Academy, was the head of the 17 aircraft squadron. And they went to arm their bombs on the way to target. And Washington had installed these wonderful new electronic bombing switches, arming switches, which when you turned them on, bombs dropped. So Max did drop the bomb accidentally. He told the rest of the squadron, do not arm them the new way, I'll go back to the old mechanical way. So 4 planes in his squadron didn't have a bomb until Max left. So they get over the Japanese Armada. Then there were not many fighters in the air because of the torpedo planes, as you heard about, the terrible damage that the torpedo planes suffered. We lost almost all of them. I've got the numbers here someplace. Torpedo Squadron 6 from Enterprise, 11 of 14 planes lost, no hits. Torpedo Squadron 3 from Hornet, 12 of 13 planes lost, no hits. Torpedo Squadron 8 from Yorktown, 15 of 50 airplanes lost, no hits. The slaughter. Those torpedo planes, the TBDs, to be determined, cruised at 85 knots. At battle, full military power, they might do 100 knots with a big torpedo on it, hanging on it. And they had to steam straight and narrow, fly straight and narrow at low level, pointing at the target for a long time. You get the gyro set up, you get close enough to the target to drop the torpedo. They were sitting ducks. And with tremendous sacrifice and courage it took, they knew they were going to fly into certain death. And they went anyway. And what they did saved the day, frankly. So the bombers happened over the Japanese fleet. Max Leslie, 17 airplanes all in a row, keeled over, did a 70-degree dive. Max Leslie had no bomb, but he strafed the biggest carrier he saw, it turned to be the Kaga, and he led his squadron down. His guns jammed, he peeled off. The plane behind him dropped a bomb on a direct hit, and he got several direct hits on that carrier. And the other squadron went across the other 2 carriers, same kind of results. In 10 minutes, the Japanese lost 3 carriers, and later that day, the 4th. An incredible, serendipitous victory that Because we were bold and forceful and lucky and brave, we won that battle and we changed the course of the war. And to those people who fought that battle, we should be eternally grateful. There are some other heroes as well. You'll never hear about the as a surface warfare officer. There were a squadron of PT boats in Midway at the time, 10 boats. You know, like PT 109, that kind of. And the two of them were on patrol about 100 miles west, and the other 8 were in Pearl Harbor, in Midway. Japanese attacked. They were firing machine guns at the attacking Zero underway. 8 PT boats looking for the Japanese Armada about 120 miles west of Midway. And when out there looking, they're going to take on the whole Japanese Navy. 8 PT boats. Well, they didn't find them. They looked and looked. Didn't find them. So if there's any kind of lesson to be drawn from Midway, it's courage. But you know, courage, you rise to the moment, and you have to believe in your people, take care of your shipmate, believe in your cause, and you're too worried, you're too busy to be scared after it's over. Of course you are. Max Leslie came back from that strike, led his squadron back, they were out of gas. And at that time, New York Times was under attack from the Hero airplanes. So he couldn't land. He ditched his airplane. And near the cruiser Astoria, and his squadron mate said Max Leslie was such a great naval aviator. He crash landed his airplane smoothly and walked off the wing of the airplane on the composition ladder. Actually, he was 50 yards away, and he got in a small boat that had to be on. So they were great conference, and they were absolute heroes, and I honor them all today. And I'm proud to be with you tonight and to help celebrate this occasion. Thank you very much.